My wife thought attacking my 71-year-old mother with a baseball bat would be the worst thing she would ever do. She was wrong. What she did next was even more disturbing, because when police searched her car that night, they found a folder containing documents my mother never knew she had. And the moment I saw what was inside, I realized this attack had been planned long before that Thursday evening. At 5:27 on a Thursday evening, my mother called me crying so hard that I could barely understand her. She told me Camille had attacked her and left her bleeding on the kitchen floor. I drove straight to the hospital, expecting to hear that my mother had simply been hurt in an argument. Instead, doctors told me she had a fractured collarbone, serious bruising, and a cut above her eyebrow. My name is Grant Halloway. I am 44 years old and live in Spokane, Washington. My mother, Eleanor, is 71, and she is the gentlest person I know. After my father died, she spent years quietly helping our family without asking for anything back. Every Sunday morning, she came to my house carrying a casserole covered in foil. She also kept an old coffee can where she saved spare change for my daughter Nora because she wanted to help her buy her first car. 3 years before the attack, my wife Camille slowly started pushing my mother away. There was always an excuse. She complained about my mother's comments, her visits, or the way she behaved at dinner. Eventually, those weekly Sunday visits became rare. I noticed it, but I avoided confrontation. I told myself I was protecting my marriage and keeping peace. Looking back, I realize I was simply choosing silence while someone I loved was being pushed out of my life. Then came that Thursday evening. When my mother's name appeared on my phone, I answered immediately. She was terrified. She told me Camille had arrived at her house, started screaming, and then grabbed the baseball bat from Nora's softball equipment. My mother tried to protect herself, but Camille struck her across the shoulder and arm. She fell against the kitchen counter and hit her head. A neighbor named Ruth heard the screaming, rushed over and called 911. I called Camille while driving to the hospital. She answered almost immediately, but her voice was strangely calm. She said my mother was exaggerating and claimed Eleanor had simply fallen. When I told her my mother said she had been hit with a bat, Camille became irritated. She told me to stop believing everything my mother said and figure things out when I got home. That was the moment something changed inside me. My mother was lying injured in a hospital, and my wife sounded more annoyed than frightened. For the first time in 9 years of marriage, I heard something in Camille's voice that I could not explain away. It was not fear or regret. It was certainty, as if she believed she could still control the story. At the hospital, doctors confirmed my mother's injuries. But even after being attacked, Eleanor did not ask why Camille had done it. She grabbed my hand and asked whether Nora was safe. That was my mother. Even while she was hurting, she was still protecting someone else. Then Detective Priya Ramanathan gave me information that made my stomach drop. Police had recovered the baseball bat from Camille's car. But the bat was not the only thing they found. There was a folder. Inside were documents connected to my mother's property and a copy of my life insurance policy. Immediately knew something was wrong. I drove to the EE police station to give my statement. When I arrived, the desk sergeant told me Camille had already come there herself. She claimed my mother had attacked her first and that she had acted in self-defense, but the evidence destroyed her story. My mother's medical report supported her. The neighbor's emergency call supported her. The weapon supported her. Then the sergeant told me police had responded to earlier complaints involving shouting at my mother's house. My mother had refused to make a formal complaint because she did not want to create problems for me. Suddenly, the past 3 years looked completely different. I had believed I was protecting my marriage. In reality, I had been ignoring warning signs. Every time my mother became quieter, every time Camille gave me another reason to keep her away, and every time I decided not to ask questions, I gave the situation more room to grow. When I finally saw Camille, she tried to make herself look like the victim. She said my mother had always hated her and had spent years trying to destroy our marriage. I did not argue. I simply asked one question. Why were my mother's property papers and my life insurance policy in your car? For several seconds she said nothing. Then she claimed she was only organizing family documents, but there was one problem. My mother's house was not even in my name. There was no logical reason for Camille to have those papers. Over the next few weeks, more information came out. Camille had contacted an estate attorney months earlier about reorganizing our finances. She had also tried to convince my mother to sign paperwork that would have given her access to money my mother had saved. Eleanor refused. That refusal had apparently changed everything. My mother had not wanted to create a fight between me and my wife. Instead, she quietly stepped back and tried to protect me. I finally understood why she had stopped coming to Sunday dinners. She was afraid that telling me the truth would destroy my marriage. She chose to carry the fear herself rather than put it on my shoulders. 11 days after the attack, I filed for divorce. I changed my life insurance beneficiaries and created a trust for Nora. My mother became the trustee, and I asked Ruth, the neighbor who had stayed beside Eleanor until the ambulance arrived, to become a backup guardian for my daughter. Ruth cried when I told her. She said she had never helped my mother because she wanted anything in return. I told her that was exactly why I trusted her. Camille eventually accepted a plea agreement. She received probation, anger management, and a permanent restraining order keeping her away from my mother. She never apologized to Eleanor. Not once. For a while I thought I needed that apology. I imagined hearing Camille admit what she had done would somehow give me closure. Eventually I realized I did not need her remorse to know the truth. The truth was already there in the hospital records, police report, evidence, and my mother's eyes. My mother healed slowly. Her shoulder took time, but she recovered. Today she is back at my house every Sunday morning with her casserole dish. Ruth still checks on her, and that old coffee can for Nora is still sitting in the kitchen. Now I understand what that coffee can represents. It represents years of quiet love from a woman who never asked for anything back. I used to think revenge meant hurting someone who had hurt you. Now I understand that sometimes revenge is simply refusing to let them control your future. The strongest answer is rebuilding your life so completely that the person who tried to destroy it no longer has a place in it. Camille lost access to my family and the life she thought she could control. My mother got her peace back. Nora got a safer future. And I finally learned that keeping the peace is not always the right thing to do. Sometimes silence protects the wrong person. Today, when my mother arrives on Sunday morning, I open the door before she can knock. She smiles, hands me the casserole dish, and walks inside like nothing ever changed. But everything changed, because now I know that the quiet people in our lives may be carrying pain they never want to put on our shoulders. So if someone you love suddenly becomes distant, stops asking for help, or keeps saying everything is fine, do not wait until they call you crying. Check on them first, because sometimes, by the time someone finally asks you to come, the damage has already begun. And sometimes the person you trusted most is the one you needed to question, while the quiet person you almost stopped noticing was the one who loved you all along.